The magic of trend lines with ICT. As you have seen in some of our other videos, combining ICT concepts with traditional retail trading tools can produce legendary results. One such tool are trend lines. Trend lines are an amazingly useful tool when trading ICT concepts. If you use them alongside the Fibonacci series and ICT concepts, you can produce phenomenal entries on trades. You can also stay in a trade by following the trend line. Stick around until the end of the video for a game-changing way to use trend lines with ICT. First, let's take a look at how to draw trend lines. Any trend line can be created by using one swing level and drawing a line to the next swing level. In this example, we will draw a line from a swing low to another swing low and continue the line so we can follow the trend in price. Here's an example of NASDAQ 100. Here's a swing low. We draw a trend line to the next swing low. And if you continue the trend line, you'll be able to see where the trend line was broken. And normally, where you want to look for an entry is as the trend line is going to be retested. It's not completely retested. This is an attempt to retest the trend line. But here is where ICT concepts come in. You can use this fair value gap as an entry, or you can use this order block. And as we can see, if we create our order blocks, price goes into the order block, almost touches the 50% level, but that could be your entry, or you can wait for it to close outside of the order block, and then that could be your entry. But the trend line told you that there is a difference, there is a change in trend. And also using ICT concepts, you can see that there is a break of structure along with a break of trend line. So drawing your trend line from one swing low to the next swing low, that's how you can tell that this is a legitimate trend line. Let's look at a swing high example. This is during the London session. We take a swing high and match it with another swing high. Continue to draw out your trend line. This is where you'll see a break. But you can also look at this trend line. Taking it from a swing high. This is one, but this is also one. You'll see there's a low on the left and a low on the right. So you can also use this swing high, and price breaks that trend line. Comes back as if it's going to retest. But if we're looking at ICT concepts, you can see right here, there's a breaker. And price goes right back inside of the breaker and takes off. So this is a 1 minute chart. So any one of these can be looked at as a breaker. This is actually the last up candle before the down move. So let's be real precise and look at how it respects the 50% of this breaker. And then price takes off to the upside. But that's after we saw it break a trend line. And you'll also find this fair value gap right here. And if we draw out the fair value gap, more than likely it will be around the 50% level of that fair value gap. And it goes right to the 50% level of this fair value gap. So there's all this confluence to tell you to take this trade. You have a trend line broken. You have a move back into a breaker, and then a move back into a fair value gap. where it's respecting the 50% of the breaker and the 50% of the fair value gap. Now let's look at another key aspect of trend lines. On a 1 hour chart, we can look at this move, this swing low to this swing high, and this is where price broke down and continued down to the 3% level of this Fibonacci extension. And after that occurred, there was a move to the upside. Now price did break this swing high, and it broke this one too. It was going for liquidity on this side. And then it came back in to test the 50% level of this order block. Now this might seem like a large order block, but if you look on a larger time frame, you can see how this will look like an order block. And you want to go to the 50% of this move. And a lot of times what price does is it goes deep, and you see this 2.3812 level. That's normally where you're going to get your reversal. But you'll get a lot of times price moving way past that just to make sure that it grabs anybody's stop loss. So it goes way past to the 3% level and then starts to move up. And it doesn't give us what we want, a close above a swing high. And this is the hourly chart. But you can tell that there's a change in sentiment because it went above with a huge wick. Now let's look to a smaller time frame, and we can see how this plays out with the 50% level of this order block. As we move down to the 15-minute level from the hourly level, we see that same move and the 3% level. This is that order block that moved down. This is the 50% level of that order block. Now there's a move to the 5-minute. And here is where things get interesting. You can draw your trend line. And again, here's the order block. Drawing your trend line. Something very interesting happens when we get down here. You see price will oscillate around this trend line. But as we get to the 50% of this order block, once it crosses that trend line, look exactly here and see what price did. It took off like a rocket to the upside. This is something that you'll see in your charts. Pay attention to where the trend line crosses the 50% level of your order block. So we look ahead, we see price took off, goes to the 2.3812, creates a small trend line, breaks the trend line, moves back into around 50%, continues on, and now there's an up closed order block. So we draw out our 50%, and as we look at price's movement, we can see this right here creates a swing low that we can start to draw our trend line from. So we take this swing low to this one and draw out our trend line. We also take our 50% of an order block and watch where they meet. As price meanders around, continues on, eventually there's a consolidation. It moves inside around that trend line, and it touches our 50%, and you could have taken a trade here. But if we look right where the trend line crosses the 50% level is when price takes off to the downside. Now you can wait because you've looked at all of this consolidation and wait for price to come right back and touch this breaker. And once it does that, it goes even lower. But this is how you can catch some amazing moves and some accurate entries using trend lines, Fibonacci, and ICT concepts. I hope this video was helpful and you got some insights. Please help the channel by liking and subscribing and checking out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching.